Warning. This podcast is about to open the sealed section of spirituality.
Hey you, yeah you, we see you, you divine human being.
And we are calling you to come home.
We are ready to talk about the real shit. We're going to get real about life as a divine human being.
The good, the not so great, spirituality and taboo. Divinely Human is the podcast that's all about what it means to be human in a spiritual context.
We know it's not just about being spiritual, it's about being human too.
And that means changing poopy nappies and channeling angels.
Sometimes even at the same time. It's time for us to stop making other people's noise our own soundtrack of life.
Let's make some waves together so that we can all ride them together and create deep resonance, a sense of home in this crazy world.
Pour yourself a coffee
Or a glass of wine if that's your potion.
and sit down with your new favorite spiritual sisters
As we go on a journey together into what it means to be
a divine human being.
on this spiritual journey.
Welcome to the Divinely Human podcast. I am Tanita
And I'm Aleisha.
and we're happy to have you back. We took a little break. We have had so much, like we could not even fit it all in this podcast episode. It happened literally within 7 days. It's quite concerning at some point because you're like, this is what's happening with so many people at the moment. So much is going on. And we know we're transitioning into a season where, balance is at the forefront of our mind. And we are really wanting to gain some harmony and peace and sanctuary in the flow of our life. But we want to kind of talk to you today about one, how you can create harmony and stability and balance, and where you can't, because let's talk about the reality of that, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like this fantasy that we all think is out there, but really, we're not really going to get there until we actually surrender to the fact that it isn't harmonious and balanced 90% of the time, right?
Yes, literally. And when we were talking about this before we started pressing record, what came through was like, what feels balanced to us as a human being is not balanced in the eyes of the creator, right? Like we are on such a small time schedule here as a human being in this like human world. And sometimes balance comes over a long span of time, not in the same day. And I think we forget that.
Yeah. It's something as well that just accumulates and you feel like you sort of get better at over time. But then miraculously, you always just get jolted. It's like you feel like you're standing at the helm of your ship and everything, you're sailing through these smooth waters, and all of a sudden you just fucking pelted off the front, washed away into the rapids, and you're like, what the fuck? But it's so normal as well. I think that it is so normal and it's crazy. And I know that you can resonate with the fact that you probably have a lot of people saying, like, how do you juggle it? How do you juggle, running a business and, doing what you're doing and what you're doing in the community, and also doing, like, being a mom and doing all these other things. Like, we wear so many hats. And I find that, like, the number one question that people have, especially at the moment, is like, how do you balance it all? How do you do it all? And I'm like, I don't. I honestly don't balance it all. There's no balance whatsoever. And it's something that I strive towards, but I never really quite feel like I master. I feel like I'm always like a few steps behind the mark there when it comes to feeling like I have all of my shit sorted and I've got things flowing. And those moments where I do, and there's only been a very few of those in my life so far. They are very momentary and they do not last for very long at all.
Same here. Oh my God. I feel the exact same way. Like, I feel like there's a couple of times that I can really recall where I've had my shit together and I feel like, I'm spending time with my daughter and I'm playing and I'm enjoying spending time with her and my mind is able to be really present with her and not worry about everything else in my life. And then suddenly so much space is created that I get like hit with another, thing to do or something else comes up and then I'm sunk back down into this depth of like trying to even figure out where I am. And that is the process of being a human, right? A conscious human who is evolving. We do move in cycles and we do move in seasons, even in our own ability to evolve. And it's so easy to get caught up in the fact of like, well, I knew I was there and now I'm not, and that makes me bad, or that makes me less than, or I don't have my shit together, right? It makes you mean all of these things about yourself. And it's really hard to, in those moments, remember that it is normal. And I am in one of those moments right now, and it sucks. Like, I really have to watch myself talk, and it's been honestly the hardest week that I've had in freaking years. But that's why I'm so glad, like so grateful for this space because we get to normalize it. And it doesn't mean a thing about who I am or what I'm doing in this world, you know?
Yeah, we don't. We don't. Yeah, we can't have grips on everything at all times. And that's the number one thing that I struggle with also is just the guilt that I place on myself when I feel like I'm not in control of, my time and my energy and just like I know that a lot of what's been happening at the moment is like health wise as well, but like these are just the things that, you know, can just tackle us with no warning whatsoever, and we can be so hard on ourselves when that happens and we feel like everything is, beyond our control. The self-talk is one of the hardest things to work through. And still, like, I guarantee, like, if we were to interview people that we see, as, motivational, like people that have their shit together, especially in the online world, they will still say as well, like, I don't. Like, I honestly get overwhelmed and absolutely battered at times as well. It's just so normal. It's like one of the biggest lessons in self-mastery, I think, is just learning how to talk to ourselves and instead of going in hot and, placing the shame and the guilt and the like, why can't I do this? Or why didn't it happen? Or why can't I make this happen? Or why don't I feel myself? Why can't I balance or juggle this? It's like the forgiveness, I think, is such a big, like, crucial part of that. But it is one of the hardest things to master.
Yeah, forgiveness is really important. And it's one of those ones where I feel like it gets overlooked a lot. Like, and I know this because I've totally overlooked it, the power of forgiveness. It's something that it's so easy to ignore and it's so easy to not really understand the ramifications. But when you hold guilt and resentment towards yourself, that's always there until you release it, right? And it's always playing in the back of your mind. And it's so important the way that we talk to ourselves because it affects literally everything, how we show up in our relationships, how we show up in our work, how we show up, in the dark moments of the night when we're alone. So yeah, you're so right. Forgiveness is so important. And I feel that that is coming up for so many of us at the moment, forgiving ourselves and really creating that peace within what's happened and what we've chosen in the past. And I think that's something big that's emerging within me at the moment is this like, well, I can't change anything that's happened in the past, but I can make peace with it. I can forgive it and I can release this negative feedback loop that I'm attached to.
Mm, yeah, forgiveness. It's one of the most beautiful things that you can gift yourself. But also one of the hardest things to move through, especially when, this day and age, I feel like people are so harsh as well. So we actually don't even see we don't see other people treating other people right, you know? So of course we're going to treat ourselves like shit, you know, at first impulse. We're going to place the blame and the shame and the guilt upon ourselves. But it's really interesting. I'm really interested just moving into Libra season as well. One of the things that I see come up a lot too is actually I had someone message me the other day and they said, I'm a Libra and I feel like I don't resonate at all with this. Like I never have anything balanced. It's one of my biggest issues. And I said, yeah, but just because that's your sign doesn't mean that, you know, you're that. And I said, let every single Libra that I've met and whose chart that I've looked at, balance is actually one of their biggest lessons because I find that people just assume that that's like if that's your sun sign, then like you have to resonate with it. But sometimes you are that sign because you have to master, like you're here to master the lessons that come with that and the energy to come with that. Like I so resonate with that, especially like being a Virgo sun. I'm the world's most unorganized person. And I truly believe that I've been born with this chart because I am here to master that Virgo energy, you know, so as well, like just because we're entering Libra season doesn't mean you need to have your shit sorted. Like, it just means that you can begin to soften to maybe going about things different ways to figure out like what works for you best when it comes to balance and, you know, release also what is super like unbalanced in your life and maybe throwing you off. Just acknowledgement itself is such a huge tool, especially in like, you know, moving through Libra season and then it's not like smooth sailing all of the time.
Yeah, and I feel like finding balance looks so different for everybody, right? Finding balance and harmony looks so different. And I totally agree. I wonder though, like, if it depends on how far along your sun is in the degrees. Like, do you know what degree your sun is at? I'm so curious.
Ooh,
Because
that is
for me, like my sun is further along. I think it's sitting at like 20 something. And I know that I was born with a lot of the Pisces kind of archetypal energy, but I went through a period of like shutting it down and then having to reopen it, which is really
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, no, I feel like it would be. Although my sun is 26 degrees.
Mm, that's interesting. But see,
I'm
like
like, whoa,
maybe you're the like
26
Virgo who is like
Virgo.
organized, like what's that saying? It's like orderly chaos or something. Like
I wonder if it's got a I'm just like trying to look now. It's so funny. It is though. There's a trine with Saturn. So I wonder if that has anything to do with it, like
yeah,
karmic shit coming up.
yeah,
Like my
totally.
son, yeah, my son's got a trine. I'm looking at it now. It's trining Saturn. So I'm like, who? I wonder if that's like there's still big lessons there.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's so interesting, right? Like this is why I love astrology because you can look at it through so many lenses and really understand like, well, why is
Yeah.
this coming up for me? And it's never just about one placement. It's about how all of the other placements interact with it too. It's so in depth, and I'm just so obsessed with
Yes.
astrology at the moment. But that's the truth, right? Like, yeah, just because your sun is in a zodiac doesn't mean you are the full and total embodiment of that in the highest capacity. It means that your soul wants to learn about that energy at a deeper level. It wants to integrate that into its being. It wants to move through that.
Yeah. And I think that's one of my biggest lessons this year in my own like as a student of
Mm.
astrology. I feel like one of my biggest things I've learned is that like it's not about where it is, it's about how it's interacting with everything else in
Yeah.
correlation to it, you know, around it and you know, so what you see straight up is never what it is until you actually dive in and see like how it's communicating with everything else, which I love so much. I
Yeah.
love it. And like not to mention like incorporating all of the asteroids into it. I know you and I are super
Oh.
obsessed with asteroid astrology.
I can't get over. We follow this absolutely incredible woman. She's a powerhouse of like teaching us about these like asteroids. And she posted this one last night or the other day, and we were just cackling because it is so funny. We'll post her Instagram down below so you guys can go check it out. But it is saucy, it is spicy, and I want you to go and see it for yourself because you will know exactly what we're talking about. It's so funny.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's fascinating how much you can learn about yourself and like, yeah, apparently, yeah. I don't even want to say anymore. I want people just to go find it themselves.
Oh, dude, it's crazy.
But it's good. It's good value. It's really, really, really interesting though, how much you can learn about yourself, even just with the asteroids. I love it so much.
Yeah, definitely. Me too. I've also loved really weaving it together with the Akashic Records, and I know that you've loved doing this too, and you're actually doing star seed kind of astrology and Akashic readings. Yeah. It was so funny because I did somebody's chart the other day and I was like, she had so many connections to the star seeds. I said, you need to book a reading with Aleisha because she'll dive in, she'll tell you all about it. But it's magic. Like you don't just get to learn about who you are right in this moment. You get to learn about where you've been and what you're connected to as a soul. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. And like lives. And it's so funny. I had no idea a few years ago that like when people came to me and they said, "Hey, I want to learn about my past lives." I thought, okay, well, regression or Akashic records.
Yeah.
They're your two big ones. And then now it's like, well, no, these markers show up like plain as day on your natal birth chart as well, which is it's so interesting, especially in the last month or so I've been learning about like ancient civilizations and like identifying them on the chart. So like seeing where you've had lives like on Earth, not just like in different star systems. It's just it's so fascinating. It's just
Yeah,
so much.
it
Never
is.
stops.
It's really fascinating. You know what we should do one day? We should look at like a public figures starseed connections. We should so do that.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes.
That'd be so
I
fun.
yeah, I would really love to look at people like Elvis Presley and like Marilyn Monroe and stuff to see like what their like starseed connections are and stuff. I feel like that would be really interesting.
Mm,
I feel like it would be really interesting to do your like the business readings, but obviously we don't know when they started their career. But
mm.
like seeing where those sorts of asteroids are sitting in their chart to do with their success and stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm so curious.
Yes. Same. Literally, there's so many things, and I really loved looking at how not only you can have a natal chart, but your business has one, and anything else that is, energetic has one too. It's really freaking awesome. I've loved diving into it. It's so fascinating. So fascinating.
Yeah. And just having the records there to support you as well. I
Mm.
feel like it's kind of like, well, I don't know about you, but when I'm doing it, I feel like when I'm reading the chart and their Akashic records are open, I'm looking over it and it's like having someone like on my shoulder going, yes, yes, that one, look at that one. And I'm like, okay. So
Yes.
like further into it, I'm like, oh yeah, there is a connection. Like,
Yes, it's so funny you say that. Mine's the same. Sometimes I'll get on a roll and like what I know comes out, and then the guardians will be like, no, 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 like correct it, and they'll bring it down in a different way or explain it differently. I'm like, whoa, like getting an absolute lesson right now.
wow.
Pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I feel like all of that stuff too, because you can learn so much about how you interact with the world too through all of these different placements. Funneling it back into balance, I feel like it can teach you a lot with like how to actually process, things that come up for you
Mm.
and what you're facing and how to move through things with more ease as well. So much support and comfort can come through with those, like melting those two modalities together. It's just, I feel so blessed to have, dived into that.
Yeah, but one thing I will say is that even still knowing, and learning so much about it, still definitely a student still have so much to learn. I've loved reading others, but I'm still finding that it's hard to read for myself, even with astrology. And I find this with so many readers and so many people that hold space. Like, we have all of this access to knowledge, and then sometimes it's really hard to turn it around on myself or on yourself and look at it through a lens like completely untied from any like preconceived ideas. And it's why I think having support is so, so important, and having those people in your corner that, you trust with this information too, and that you would really, respect like reading for you and trust reading for you.
Yeah. And thank you for saying that, because that's actually something that I feel like a lot of us judge ourselves on, because I resonate so hard with that in the way that I sit down and even as simple as pulling cards for myself.
Yes.
The
Oh,
messages that come through for me compared to when they come through for someone that I'm reading for, I'm like, oh, is that all? I'm
yeah.
like waiting for more to come through. It's like, that's it. And I'm like, ugh. So like even on a small scale like that, and then opening my own Akashic records, or like bringing through my guides and stuff, it's minuscule compared to what I've had other people bring through. But then when I'm reading for other people, it's just like a waterfall of information that comes through. And as a reader, I think that it's a beautiful reminder that we are here to help each other, and getting a different lens on it, as you said, like having a different lens applied to you and your soul and your blueprint, brought through by somebody else, is just so beautiful. And I love, love having other people tune into my energy and, bring through messages, because there's so much shit that I feel like I project to block myself a lot of the time, because we have that, obviously, we have an emotional connection to ourselves. So
Well,
it
we
makes
hope so anyway.
yeah, we hope so. Although if you're an Aquarius, I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe you're just like fucking so joking.
We love you,
But
Aquarius.
but it really, we are here to help and support each other, and I just love that about this community. Like the other day, I had people message me. I think I mentioned something on my stories like, I like have a healing with my friend like every 6 months or whatever, and they were like, oh, you get healings by someone else. I'm like,
Of course.
yes. I reach out all the damn time for like
Yeah.
help and support, and that's what kind of keeps this community going in a way too. I think it's
Yeah.
the best thing you can do for yourself. So
Yeah, I totally agree. And I was like, I wonder why that flow is or feels like limited when we are receiving for ourselves. And what came through around that was like, well, you aren't here to just be in your own story all the time. You are meant to evolve, and you are meant to have different perspectives and learn from different people. You're not meant to be your own teacher all of the time. You are meant to learn and share and work with others. We are a collective. And I found that so
yeah,
helpful, because it is so true. We do struggle sometimes to hold space for ourselves. And the truth is, we're not always meant to be in hermit mode. We're not meant to be an individual that's completely, unconnected from other people. We're meant to be a community. And the more that we allow people to hold space for us, with obviously boundaries on that, you have to trust them and they have to be safe and all of the things we've talked about 100 million times. But the more we do that, I think we can soften into that balance and understand that it's okay to sometimes feel like you don't have it all together, or maybe the flow isn't working the way that you want it to for yourself. Like, it's normal. And again, that's why balance looks so different in so many different ways.
So beautiful. When you were just saying that, I had spirit come through and they kept repeating, I am you and you are me.
Oh, I love
I am you
that.
and you are me. They
So
were, I feel like that's so, yeah, that just makes so much sense. Like we are here to see ourselves from different angles and
yeah.
perspectives. And it's very hard to do that continuously for yourself 24/7. You actually need other people around you. If you like envision it as like having people at all angles around you, bring through the insight and the knowledge, because we do have a like this joint collective energy that we all share. Like we share, if you look at it like a web that covers, earth, like we are all one collective energy. And I am you and you are me, we are one. And it just having those messages come through, I feel like there's more lessons in seeing something from a different lens and constantly having to use just your own lens for that. I think it's really important to reach out,
Yeah.
which is so beautiful.
Yeah.
And yeah, I so agree. I think it's beautiful.
I think so too. I think so too. And I can't believe that people don't think you get your own healings done by other people. I think it's so important for healers and space holders to get held by other people. Otherwise, we're exhausted. Like, try holding space for you, your family, and every other client that you have. Like, we have to have those things that fill up our cup. And I think that's what Libra season is going to teach a lot of us, is like, how can you fill up your cup to the point where it is fully overflowing, even when things are really tough, and things might not be going in the direction that you thought they were going in.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think too, as well, I don't know why I'm saying this right now, but I feel like I need to. We've been we've been releasing so much the last few months, like enormous amounts of like any energy that's not serving us. I've spoken to so many people that have just like literally cleared out their whole life because it wasn't serving them. Things that don't work for you, people that don't like, that aren't, giving back, or like that are just fucking assholes.
Yeah.
Gone. So I feel like as well, like with Libra season, it's not going to be that cliche like rebalancing either. It's going to be like bringing through what actually works for you. What you've got, all this space you've cleared out. What do you want here? What do you want to fill this with?
Yeah.
What's going to work for you? What's going to create more peace, more harmony, which will bring through more balance as well. So I'm really excited to see kind of that over the next 4 or so weeks, like how people move through it and, what they are bringing in. Although we do have the new moon today, but we do have eclipse season coming up. So don't be bringing too much in. Do all, and by the time this is released, we're going to be probably like hit in the shadow of eclipse season. So I'm a hope that you guys have brought through what you want to bring through, and just kind of batter down the hatches now and just sit in that, marinate in that until we've passed eclipse season, and then we can.
Yeah, we'll get through it together as a team. Trust me, we're gonna have to. There's going to be no other way. Oh, God. You know what? I was just reminded of, sometimes we're not given what we want, but what we need. And what we need is sometimes really tough to receive. So these seasons and, what happens is just an opportunity to get given what you really need in this moment and find the resources that you need to support you through it. And just know that if you're having a really tough time, you're so not alone. I think so many of us have been thrown absolute curveballs lately that we could never, ever, ever have anticipated. I quite literally went through a whole cycle of like welcoming life and letting go of life in literally the span of a couple of days. So it's normal to feel unstable in these times, but the truth is you can find balance in yourself. It's not about finding balance in, well, that whole like work-life balance is absolute BS, like honestly, but you can find balance within yourself. And it's a constant path that we're walking down to recalibrate that balance within ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And if anyone is listening to this and they also run like a business and navigating motherhood, please know that we do not have our shit figured out. Like we have nothing figured out. And I mean, like at times that is the beauty of it, but also it is so stressful. It feels so rocky and unbalanced. But there's still a sense of freedom in that, because obviously we do have our own spaces and our own businesses and stuff like that. It's beautiful. It's a gift, but it is not something that is balanced. And especially I really want to speak into like being a mom as well, because it's so hard. And I'm so sick of seeing like these perfect, I want to call them imitations of like lives that are lived, that are like, I'm a business owner, I'm a mom, like I'm a part-time athlete, I do this, I do that, I do this. Like it's not real.
Yeah.
It is not real.
Yeah.
None of that is life, it's not balanced. And a lot of the time I spend losing my shit because I can't balance.
Quite literally.
Quite literally, like honestly, it is not balanced, and it's stressful, but it's life and it's beautiful. And surrendering into it is the path that I'm still on. And I don't think that I will arrive there this lifetime. But I am working towards it.
Yeah.
And that's if you're doing that, at least that is enough. Like
Yeah.
you're so enough.
Totally. And all of those beautiful labels, they've come over, half a lifetime, 3/4 of a lifetime, and we are looking at it through the lens of like, a 13, 14-hour day. And it's so challenging to be able to fit all of that in. Like, yes, I'm a business woman and a mom, and I'm really conscious and I'm open and I'm grounded and I'm connected, like all in this span of like a day. Like, are you kidding? Sometimes it just doesn't happen. So know that when you are seeing those people share that, especially on social media, they're sharing from a much bigger timeline perspective than our very small day. And it's okay to not feel so achieved in your daytime. Like, that's so normal. It's so normal. And I think that we have to give ourselves permission to be messy, to let what needs to come out, and to stop striving for perfection and control, because it totally releases the magic of life. And it releases these beautiful opportunities to connect in deeper ways. And I know it's hard, especially because we are on social media so much more than ever now. And we are seeing all of these perfectionists showing up in our face all the time. And it's easy to think, well, how come I don't have my shit together? But it's okay. It's okay. You're so, so not alone, honestly.
Yeah, like sometimes I'm like, wow, when was the last time I actually tuned in or asked, for my own guidance? Or when was the last time I did I can honestly say right now, I can't remember the last time I did like a meditation just for myself.
Yeah, I'm
It
trying to
would
think
be
too, actually.
like, I'm gonna say like over 2 months.
Wow, look at you.
Like it's just not, and especially as a space holder, like any time that we do have, it's spent, a lot of the time showing up for other people and in their energy and not exploring your own and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I find that that's also, especially when you're a mom and you've got a family to show up for at the same time, like it's kind of like the dark side as well of being a space holder. It's that your own growth can sometimes be put on hold because you're so busy like nurturing everyone else's growth around you. And sometimes you're like, oh, hang on, I'm still here.
In the dust.
And I've like lifted everyone else up around me, and they're like, oh, it feels they're not actually all the way up there, but it feels like
Yeah.
energetically like, oh, they're all the way up there, and I'm just down here still. That's such a normal feeling to have, like, especially when we live in this society where we wake up and we, jump on the internet and we see people doing 5-hour practices, and it's just like waking up in the morning and just like living this totally unrealistic life if you're a mom, and we can fill up with resentment, and
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be like that because that's not real. It is not real whatsoever at all.
So funny because I was like the other day my partner was home and I was like I'm gonna have myself a bath, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna set the candles up, I'm gonna make this really nice, I'm gonna put some really beautiful essential oils in there and get my crystals out and pull myself a card. And I posted a photo on my stories and it was so beautiful. I got to write myself a poem. And then I kid you fucking not, like 2.5 seconds later, my grubby ass child jumps in the bath with me. And I'm like, are you kidding? Like, that's just the reality of it sometimes. The reality of being a mom is the fact that you try so hard to create space for yourself, especially after a day of holding space for everybody else but you. And then you still have other kids that, kids that need you, people that need you. And sometimes holding space for yourself is just, it's just not, you can't do it. You just are physically incapable of doing it. And then we go on, we see these people who hold 5-hour practices for themselves and we're like, fuck, why can't we be like that? And it's like, it's just so unrealistic. It's so unrealistic. Can we please stop it?
or like I always see, oh my God, no judgment, but like I'm just always see people like, oh, I went away on the weekend for like a retreat. And I'm like,
my heart's breaking over here.
world? This is like, is that even a reality in this world? No, it's not.
Honestly.
But we move through seasons, and we're all in different seasons of life, and that's the beauty of it. Like, where you and I are in this season currently of running a business and navigating motherhood, we're very much married into those commitments right now. And I like to think that one day we will be like, just like Grace and Frankie, like,
oh my God, yes.
that's when we'll be going away on our retreats and doing our 5-hour practices.
So we're like 78 years old.
When we're 78 and we've outlived our families and we're just there drinking cocktails,
living together on the beach. That is the dream vision, you guys.
Yeah. yeah. So, that's what's going to happen. But yeah, I think as well, like surrendering into whatever season you're in at the moment, which is why also like bringing it back to astrology, why I love astrology, because it is that invitation to look and like meet yourself where you're at, not anywhere else, but where you are in the present. And like, even though there's certain themes that come with each astrology season, you're still meeting yourself where you are, and it's not like you have to be here or you have to be there. It's like, okay, so how can you focus maybe on this little bit of your life for this season ahead, sort of thing. It's so almost like gentle in a way.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like not overwhelming, right? And I remember like once I applied for like a one-on-one coaching spot with somebody. I never ended up doing it, but I applied for it. And it like asked me, what areas of your life do you want to work on? I was like, can I tick them all? And then I was like left that feeling so overwhelmed. I was like, oh my God, there's so much to work on. But you're so right. When you tune into the astrology, you get to just focus on that one aspect and really move through it and allow yourself to integrate into it, and it doesn't feel so rushed.
Yeah. It kind of like allows you, I mean, not to romanticize it, but it kind of like allows you, because you're sort of focusing on one thing at a time and like acknowledging, things as they're coming, not all at once and overwhelming yourself. It is almost like entering a ritualistic way of living instead of just being absolutely overwhelmed by everything. You're like, okay, and now is the time to focus on this.
Yes.
We're going to work through this for this window of time, and then we're going to move on, and then we'll be focusing on this for this window. Like, it's so beautiful.
I absolutely love the whole just expression of that you moved us through with the hand movements. For those of you who are not watching us on YouTube, Aleisha just went through that whole journey through her body and showed us. It was beautiful.
An interpretive dance.
Yes, literally. Oh, so good.
It's like that.
It is. Oh, this was so good. Well, you guys will have to let us know what's coming up for you at the moment. We'll be posting this right in the midst of all the crazy stuff that's happening. So let us know how you're going. Check in with us. We are here to see you and celebrate you. And we'd love, just to hear how you're finding the podcast. We'd love some reviews too. I'd love to hear from you guys.
Yes, we would absolutely love that. We love hearing from you guys. We love getting messages. We love getting any comments on our page just with feedback. It's so helpful for us as well because it kind of gives us a little bit of direction as to what you guys want from us as well. Please don't be shy. Pop your head in. We love you all. But this has been so great. Such a chill chat today. I feel like I needed this. Yeah, as always, you guys can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Anchor. I got them all. But until then, we will catch you.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.